I love it. And in order to be daring, it requires us to be assertive. We have to be assertive. And assertive means that you're confident, you're aggressive when you need to be, you're assured when you need to be, and that you're positive when you need to be, which should be all times. So we have to be assertive. In order to be daring, we have to be assertive because you do not require external validation. Right. So if you're going to be daring, you can't require external validation. Right. Because other things outside of you will not tell you that you're doing good or doing right. So in order to be daring, it requires us to be assertive. It requires us to be bold. You look at somebody and say, you got to be bold. You got to declare that you are God's elect. You have to be bold enough to declare that you are God's elect. Are you willing to tell everybody, be daring enough to tell everybody who you are and be unapologetic about it? You are the change that's needed, and that requires boldness. In order to be assertive, in order to be daring, you got to be assertive, you got to be bold, and then you got to be courageous. You should never back down. Oh, I said that with a little bit more heart. I said you should never back down. But we'll talk about that backing down later. Kobe was daring, and Kobe was also different. Kobe was also different. Now, this different piece is really important because you got to live above the limitations that others will set for you. And make no mistake, people will try to set limitations for you. So you got to stretch out and be great. Say, I'll stretch out and I'll be great. Because you are not where you came from, you are not what you do, and you are who God said that you are. So you got to make sure that you are working to live up to your potential and not down to the perception of others, not down to the pedigree that was done before, and definitely not your past. So there's another video that we have, and before we play it, I just want to kind of set the stage for you because being different is going to cause persecution, especially as a believer. Does that make sense to you? So I need you to understand that you got to live up to your potential. You are not going to let the perception of other people, the pedigree that you had, or your past mistakes cause you not to be different. It's okay to be different. Why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out? You know, people traveled the world in 2016 to see Kobe play his final year. People were going all over the place trying to get to those games because that was the last time Kobe was going to play in this arena or Kobe was going to play in that arena. You can't tell me that ain't different. Wait, and an Academy Award for deer basketball? What NBA ball player do you know gets an Academy Award? Somebody say he was different. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, it says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. You got to believe that in your difference, God has given you the wherewithal and the ability to pull off whatever it is you're doing. Oh, I wish I had somebody that believed that today. You got to believe that with the wherewithal that you have, God is going to give you what you need to pull off what you're doing. It's okay to be different. Why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out? Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 8, you can write it down. It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. You better believe that you God's favorite. Amen. You got to believe that you're God's favorite. And because you are God's favorite, that makes you different. Amen. All right. So, I always wondered if Kobe was actually named after the beef. Kobe beef? Y'all, okay. His parents were at a restaurant and saw Kobe beef, and that's how Kobe got his name. That's different. So I believe that just like in the book of Jeremiah where it says, before I formed you in your mother's belly, I knew you. You got to understand that he came out, he started out with a different pedigree when his parents named him after a piece of beef. Okay. Romans chapter 8 and verse 37, it says, nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him. Y'all not there. Through him that loved us. Romans chapter 8 and verse 37. You can write it down. Because I believe that this is our permission to be daring. I believe Romans chapter 8 and verse 37 gives us the permission that we need to be daring. In other words, it's saying, you know what? Whatever you do, you're more than a conqueror. So in your difference, you're more than a conqueror. But in order to be different, there are several things that we have to do. In order to be different, we must be alive to possibilities. We got to be alive to possibilities. And you got to be alive to possibilities that have not yet been discovered. Yeah. Does that make sense to you? You got to be alive to possibilities that have not yet been discovered. And just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean that it can't happen. So those things that are in your mind that you are believing that you need to do, but nobody has ever done it, you are just the one to make it happen. God will be glorified in who you are and in your difference. What does the world need that you have on the inside of you that nobody else has done? But it needs to happen. Now, what we have to remember is when you're different, those who go through the wall first get the bloodiest.